Welcome to another episode of the No More Wasted Days podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Sarah.
I'm Heather.
And today we are going to be talking about 10 tools you can use when you want to have a drink. And I'm really excited about this because I feel like it will not only give Heather and I a refresher, but it will also help you as the listener be able to go, I haven't tried that one yet, or I used to do that one and I need to pull it back in. But I do have to warn you that we're going to go quickly through these because I don't want it to be like a 10-hour episode. So if we do one that you're like, I want to know more about that one, put it in the comments or put it as a review because we see those and we'll be able to go, oh, we should do a full episode on this one in the future. And speaking of reviews, if you haven't left one already, go ahead and leave us a review. Me and Heather love reading them, and Heather was actually going to share one of our more recent reviews.
Yes. It says, awesome podcast. Sara and Heather are compassionate and knowledgeable. I really appreciate their helpful tips and non-judgmental perspective. I highly recommend this podcast. So, thank you. This is from CMW. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much. And if we don't read your review, don't worry, we still read it, but if we don't read it out loud, but we are trying when we see new ones to read them and share them. And so we can kind of share with you guys what's happening, what people think. But also I would just want to remind you again, it's a great place for you to contact us. So if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, it's a neat way to connect with us. So are you ready to dive into this, Heather?
I'm ready. I'm excited.
Okay. So I decided to do this because I know we've had those moments when a craving is super loud or the day has been super long and drinking feels like the easiest way to escape. I know recently I've had my father-in-law passed away recently, and going through all of that, he was very sick leading up to it, then passed away, and now it's the process of getting his house ready to sell and all of that stuff, right? There have been little moments for both Ryan and me, we've both shared, that we thought, I could have a drink. And it's been weird because it's not something we would normally think. When life is going good, I really don't think about it. But do you still have moments from time to time?
They're fleeting, and it's more like, God, I just want to escape this feeling or this stress or this situation.
Yes, it really is. For me too, I've noticed that the only time it really happens now is to escape that feeling. It's just because in the beginning it would happen like, if I wanted to celebrate or if it was a holiday where I usually drank. So it used to happen a lot more. But I want you to know that if you are having these cravings, you're not weak. You're just wired for relief and your body learned this way. So today we're going to share 10 things that actually work in these moments when you're having the craving. Now, another thing I want to remind you as I'm sharing these is if you're like, I've heard an episode like this before, I don't really need this, please listen. Because for me, I don't memorize all this stuff. That's why even for me, I need these refreshers so then I can start using another tool. Because when a craving hits, it's hard to go, oh, well, I need to go listen to that one podcast episode, or I wrote down a list somewhere, right?
Right.
Yeah. So it's good to hear these things just multiple times. So you start to memorize them. So when these feelings occur, they're really easy to call on. So I've actually broken it into 4 categories. It's going to be mind, body, environment, and connection. There's going to be 2 for each category, which only gives us 8. And then there's going to be 2 more after that combine some of these. So let's dive into mind first. So number 1, this totally reminds me of Dr. Phil, which I'm not a fan, but you got to name it to tame it. And he said something similar to that. But what it means is I want you to call out what you're feeling. When you're having a craving, what are you really feeling? Is it stress, loneliness, boredom? And this act of naming actually reduces the emotional intensity. Do you remember to use this one, Heather?
Yes.
Yeah, me too. I've gotten good at remembering this one now. It took me a long time. Do you have an example of when you've used it at all? I'm trying to think of one.
I do. Actually, the name it to tame it, I learned about that in life coach school. And the idea is if you, like you said, if you name the emotion, it decreases the intensity. Now, where I use it the most is naming the inner critic, or I have a pretty type A personality that's been weaponized against me by others in the past. And I named that part of my personality Harry. So when Harry's wanting to make a plan and be really, really, really specific and logistical, and like Harry serves a big purpose, and sometimes Harry needs to take a nap and sit down. So that's an example of naming something to take the intensity away and cope instead of, because Harry drove me to drink, really. So that's my off the top of my head example.
I love that example because I think that when we name it, it also makes it a little bit silly.
Yeah.
And which can help us snap out of the moment. Like I've heard somebody be like naming your inner critic like Nancy, which is funny to me because I have an Aunt Nancy and she is really critical.
Right.
Somebody wrote that on Facebook like years ago. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so funny. And I'm going to use that. And I do. I'll be like, oh, pipe down, Nancy. No one needs to hear that.
That's funny.
So let's move on to number 2. In the category of mind, number 2, change the story. This one is hard, but the more you do it, the easier it gets, I promise. So you have to reframe what you're telling yourself. So you may be saying, I have to get through tonight without drinking, but instead say, I get to try something different and see how it feels. That takes away the white knuckling feeling. Mm-hmm. And we don't want you to have the white knuckling feeling. We talked about that on like the dry drunk episode. If you're constantly feeling like you're white knuckling this journey, then you're not leaning into some part of the work. So reframe. You get to do this. I get to be alcohol free. I get to be free from this poison. And then having different mantras like this feeling isn't forever. That's one that I remind myself of a lot during a craving or an uncomfortable moment. Or I don't drink. And that's okay. Like just whatever works for you. And if you need some mantras, I have 10 that I've put into a little list. I'll put those in the show notes for everybody so they can go look at them and just have those things. How do you change the story when it comes up for you?
I did this yesterday. I think about the current story I'm telling myself and what is a better story. Mm-hmm. I like to think in opposites. So, what is the opposite of chaos? Calm. The story I'm telling myself is, I am calm. Was I calm? No. Did I calm? Yes.
Yeah, I love that one. And sometimes I'll tell myself, like, you're going to get through this and you're going to have a story to tell. Like if it's just some big, crazy life moment, I'm like, there's going to be a story to tell once you get past this. And it's 6 months past, you'll probably look and go, this was kind of interesting. They're not always funny. So, but you always look at it differently once you're past it. So that's one way I reframe my mindset a lot. All right, we're going to move into the category of body. So number 3 is move your body intentionally and quickly. So ways you can do this. I know Heather's a big fan of dance it out. And then you could walk, shake it out, just shake your body, stretch, and you get some bonus points if you change locations to do this. So movement will burn stress hormones and it will start building a different momentum for you. Yeah. All right. You want to talk about dance it out?
I do. I was telling the day makers, I guess maybe Monday. Mm-hmm. I love Florence and the Machines. They have a pretty popular song called Shake It Off. And that song actually, the way like the rhythm is and the words and the depths of that amazing soul helps regulate your nervous system.
Yeah.
And if you literally like shake it off while you're listening to that song, say you're ruminating on something in your bedroom, come into the kitchen, get you some water, grab an apple, and play that song. And I have found that to be really, really helpful.
That song is so good. That's on my workout playlist and running playlist. Not that I run these days, but, and then another shake it out. You could shake it out with Taylor Swift, right? A little bit different. I don't think that one has the emotional, like the Florence and the Machine one has great lyrics. So yeah. Definitely recommend that one. All right. So number 4, stimulate your senses. So what does this actually mean? You could do a cold water splash. If you don't want to do cold water on like your face, I actually do cold water under my eyes. I'll run really cold water or even an ice cube, put it under my eyes. It feels, for me, it feels good, but it also just helps. Or on your wrist, or you can do a cold plunge if you're crazy. Or you can also do lemon water, just changing the senses in your mouth. Or I've heard too, like eating something spicy can help when you're feeling like, because your body can only deal with one intense thing at a time. Like your body will have to prioritize, or peppermint oil or ice cubes down your shirt to just like stimulate yourself in a different way. Okay, how do you do it? My way really is the water on my wrists or under my eyes.
I start with washing my hands with cold water and like the soap. If you have a smelly good soap, that can help. I have my ice roller that I use.
Oh yeah, you always mention that.
And it obviously lives in the freezer, and I have put it down in my shirt, so I know exactly what you mean by that. And just running the cold water over the inside of your wrists. If you're really activated, you can take like a bowl of water and dip your face in and like hold your breath for 30 seconds. I've done this and it works. And any like change in temperature, and like you said, the lemon water or like biting into an actual lemon,
yeah,
could really help. And if you have like a mist spray for your face, like a hydrating spray or any type of makeup spray, that can be helpful too, to calm and change the temperature a little bit.
Lots of ways to do it. I've noticed too anxiety lately, and chewing minty gum helps when I'm driving. If I can kind of feel it coming on, it just is, it's that different sense. So I'm sure something spicy would work a little bit better, but I don't always have something super spicy just in my car.
Yeah.
I always have my gum. And then I also just love to chew gum and blow bubbles. I tell people it's my hobby. So it kind of gives me something new to do too, and take my mind off of it. All right. So now we're moving on to environment. We are flying. I was really like, okay, to get through 10, I can't babble. I have to keep it under control. So number 5 is in the environment category. And we talk about this a lot too. So if a craving hits, I want you to shift your space. Change your surroundings by stepping outside, moving to another room, cleaning something small. When you have a physical change, it equals a mental change. So, all right, Heather, I feel like all the examples I just gave are ones that you've given in past episodes. So tell me about, I want to hear about walking through a doorway.
I knew you were going to say that because I was thinking that. You read my mind. So I don't know who suggested this when I first quit drinking. If you walk through a doorway, it shifts the craving. So think about when you go into the kitchen, and this doesn't have to be a perimenopause, menopause thing. I've done this my whole life. I mean, it could be ADHD, I don't know. But you walk in there and you're like, why the hell did I come in this room? It's similar, right? You walk through the door frame just into a different room, and it does shift. And so you could do that anywhere. And shifting your space, so a craving is what, 15, 20 minutes, right? Mm-hmm. You could pull a Heather and like rearrange a little bit your living room. I did this Saturday, not because I was having a craving, but because I just like to rearrange my furniture or just rearrange a little corner. It just shifts the space in your environment. If you like activate some of the senses, like lower lighting, put on your oil diffuser, some room spray, a candle, you can really shift that craving and get you out of that like frozen state of all I can think about is I need wine.
Yeah. And the shifting, like the walking into a different room, when you say like, oh, I kind of forgot why I'm in this room, it totally, even when I have very direct, like even opening the refrigerator for me, open the refrigerator, it's like you're in a new space and you're like, why am I here?
Right. What I come in here to get.
Yeah. I have to walk back to this is a good tip for people that are like, oh my God, that happens to me all the time. Go back to the other space you were in.
Yeah.
And start looking around, and suddenly you'll go, oh, okay, now I know why. That's me like cooking dinner every night, going back to exactly where I was, going, why did I go into the pantry? Oh, now I remember.
Yep.
But yeah, walking through the doorway, it really does help. And that's when I remember and I use it, because there's a few where I'm like, which ones do I actually remember to use? All right, so number 6, still in your environment, I want you to create a ritual, which Heather talked a little bit about this too, but just in the whole like changing your space, but make it into a ritual that happens all the time. So lighting a candle, pouring a fancy alcohol-free drink, and start your sober signal in quotation marks. And these rituals will replace routines that you used to have, and they bring more intentionality. One of my routines is having a drink while I cook dinner. Like towards the end of towards the end of making dinner, I start thinking, okay, what am I going to drink with dinner? And then I start pouring that drink. But a lot of times I also have like a LaCroix or Spindrift while I'm cooking. It's just a ritual for me. And it was a ritual when I was a drinker that was drinking wine. So I had to change that one very quickly. What are some that you have changed either in the beginning or now?
So in the beginning, I probably chugged LaCroix. And I'm not kidding when I say like 6 back to back to back during the itchy times. And now I'm drinking a lot of hot tea. And yesterday I broke my policy and I worked after 8 p.m. So what I did after that was have my hot tea to signal this is time for rest. And it really does work.
Yeah. When you pair some sort of drink with something, it does send a connection to your brain, which is what alcohol did. But the connection was, oh, it's time to relax and unwind. But any other drink can do that too. Yeah. If you decide to place that power on it, and it's just like, do that. All right. So now we're moving into the fourth category, which is connection. And number 7 of our list of 10, this one is hard for me to remember to do. And always when I finally do it, I go, why didn't I do that sooner? So number 7, reach out to someone. Text a friend, hop into a community group like the Daymakers, or do a voice message to somebody. And the craving shrinks when it's shared. And I have to say, you don't even have to share that you're going through a craving. You can just text a friend and your mind will change. And this is one that, again, when I use it, I'm like, why didn't I do that sooner? This is one that I feel like Heather uses quickly.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's like, this is like one of your top ones.
Yeah. And you're right. It does change my brain. It just left my brain. It does shrink it when it's shared. And like you said, it doesn't have to be like, hey, I'm having a craving. It just can be like, hey, I need some accountability. I'm going to text you in 15 minutes. And even if they don't respond, then you follow up and you text them. It's more for you. I think voice memos or voice text are powerful because you hear the words coming out of your mouth too.
Yeah.
And I have called people out the blue at various times of the day over the past 4 years and just said, I need you to ride with me from A to B. And these are trusted people. They don't ask a lot of questions. It's like, okay, what you doing? Yeah. How you doing? And that could be not necessarily just a craving, because most of the time in my thoughts, a real strong craving is usually followed by a pretty strong emotion. Mm-hmm. So if you're having an emotion that feels unmanageable, reaching out can help you stay ahead of the craving.
Yeah.
Or vice versa.
Yeah, exactly. And then, so please remember that one, because I do think it's one of the better ones and I should use it more quickly. And then number 8 is listen to your alcohol-free playlist or podcast. I did this so much in the beginning.
Me too.
So listening to podcasts or listening to audiobooks about people talking about why they decided to quit drinking or the joys of being sober, it really helped me feel like I had that connection. And obviously I'm an introvert. I don't naturally reach out to people. So having my little podcast buddies helps me a lot. I still have my podcasts that I love to listen to. They're not all, I don't really have too many alcohol-free ones in there anymore. But in the beginning, I really, really did. And it's cool because all of a sudden you have new sober buddies. So have that go-to audio list that speaks directly to your why. I still have alcohol-free books or self-help books in my Audible library that I'll be like, oh, I'm just going to listen to a little bit of this one. And it just kind of helps. And I usually don't listen to the whole book, but I'll just go, that's what I needed. Did you do this one in the beginning?
Absolutely. And a tip I have is download some episodes so that if you're without signal, you can access the episodes. And it could be new episodes, old episodes, and same with your audiobooks. If you can do that, that way you can access it. I actually did this yesterday with the audiobook, a Brianna Wiest book. So I didn't listen to the whole thing. I just honestly just picked it up and hit play, and we went on some errands. Yeah.
I think it helps so much when you have one that helps, because mine are, if I put in a Gabby Bernstein book, I'll be like, okay, that helps. Or her podcast is one too, where they're quick. And I don't need to listen to the whole thing to just have that mindset shift that I was looking for. And if that one doesn't work, then I have other ones that I go to where I'm like, okay, well, maybe I need this instead. I have my podcast library is like, I feel like it's so fun because I have business podcasts and I have funny podcasts and I have what I call my keep me company podcasts, which are like, you can't really categorize what they're even about. They're just people sharing their life. And it all helps me. It makes me feel like I got little buddies when I'm doing chores that maybe I don't want to do. All right. So now we're going to combine. We have 2 more, and these are going to be combination tools because they could touch on different categories that we talked about. So number 9 is to do something with your hands. When a craving hits, have something you can do. So crafting, cooking, folding laundry. We know there's always laundry to fold. Brushing your pet. Petting your pet, like take your dog on a walk, do something with your cat if you have one. And it really is just do something with your hands. For me, I love to play instruments. So when nobody's home, that's usually what I do. I'll play the guitar or play the piano. But when you keep your hands busy, your brain gets engaged in that and stops wanting to drink. So I also think this can be overwhelming because you'll be like, oh my God, I'm supposed to do something with my hands. That's what they told me to do, but I can't think of anything. So what I want you to do is I want you to make a little list, and I want them to be easy things. They can't require you getting out a million tools to start your craft. It needs to be really easy, like adult coloring books or diamond dot painting. Yeah. What are yours, Heather?
Currently, I am, propagating the plants. So I have a lot of things to water. That's easy, and it's helpful. And just to go feed your pet if you have one. Feed yourself, number 1. And I've tried, Laura, I can't be still. So I agree with you about not having to pull out 42,000 things, having like an adult coloring book out, or maybe an ongoing craft that you can pull out really quick.
Yeah.
Needlepoint, crocheting, puzzles. Even like a little go-to game on your phone, like Sudoku or anything like that.
I have Tetris on my phone.
Ooh, I love Tetris.
I know, I do too. And then my son shared another one. God, I can't remember what it's called. I wish I could because it's really fun. And it's kind of like Tetris because you have to get 4 lines and then there's like a little explosion on the screen. So maybe it'll come to me as we're talking. Or maybe somebody's listening and they're like, it's called this.
Yeah, let us know.
Yeah. So they're not our 10 items. I was ready to be like, that's it. I'm going to skip the 10th one. Number 10 is this one I used a lot in the beginning, using the 15-minute rule. I didn't call it the 15-minute rule. I just reminded myself that it's going to pass and that I needed to wait. So tell yourself, I'll wait 15 minutes before deciding. And most cravings will peak and pass within that time. So, and this goes for so many things, guys. If you're trying to eat healthy or you're trying to ditch caffeine or even if you're trying to start a workout program, like do it for 15 minutes, then decide if you're going to quit after those 15 minutes or wait 15 minutes before you have the cup of coffee, drink some water and then go, oh, I don't think I need it. So really use this one. It's science backed that a craving usually only lasts about 15 minutes. And when you give yourself an out like that, it just makes your brain relax. Do you use this one?
I do.
Yeah.
I've been practicing what I'm calling the divine pause. I came up with that, but I think it has a different meaning maybe. But in terms of like responding or like if I want to react, I'm going to wait. I'm going to pause for 15 minutes and then I'm going to respond if I choose to.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that one's good. And it's good practice for so many areas of our life. So use that one. So those are our 10. I was trying to cut you out of that 10th one there, everybody. Sorry about that. But those are the 10 things you can do when your next craving hits. I think that this is so helpful. And again, write these down, put them in a notes in your phone and like try to memorize them. I know that sounds like, oh my gosh, she's giving me homework. Or try to be like, after listening to this, I am going to implement these 2. So then you have 2 more that you can keep using in your back pocket as you go. And I want you to remember you won't always feel like doing the thing, but it does work. And that's major too. Like because this could be if I'm aggravated, I use these techniques. It's not always a craving. And when I'm aggravated and I'm thinking, well, go do something with your hands, I'm like, I don't want to. But that's why I think too, like pet your cat. It's like, oh, I can do that. I guess I can do that one. Mm-hmm. But really, truly, it does help. So I want you to try to think of 2 to 3 that you'll try in this next week. If you do them, tell us about it. You can always tag us on social media or tell us in the ratings, review, comment section, depending on where you listen. So I hope that this helped. If it did, be sure to give us that rating, review, and share it with a friend.
All right. Yeah, let us know. We'll see you next week. Bye, y'all.